Okay, hello everybody. My name is Carter Wendell, and we'll be doing a Finance 335 presentation. And I'll be doing mine on chapter 9, problem 1 on Bob's Rahi Company. And type that in there. This will be a EPS growth and stock valuation. The inputs we'll be using a dividend payout ratio, a retention ratio, expected EPS here. And then we will also be doing return on equity, and return, and required. So for the given payout, or for the given inputs, we have our dividend payout ratio, 45%. An expected EPS of 0.75, a return on equity of 12%, and then a required return of 8%. And then with the dividend payout ratio, we can just do one minus that to find a retention ratio of 55%. Now we can go to our calculations that we'll be using from these inputs. And then the first one will be our growth rate of EPS. Secondly, we'll also use value of stock. And this will be the earning model form. And then we will use expected dividend here. And then the value of stock in the growth form. You can calculate using our inputs. So for this, we'll be using B5 or a retention ratio, and then we will multiply this by B7 or return on equity. So for our earning model value of stock, we will be using equal to, it will be expected EPS divided by required return, and then this will be subtracted by our growth rate. Okay, expected dividend. Next, for expected dividend, we'll be using, we do equal, and then our payout ratio, just multiplied by our expected EPS. That looks about right. Then we can fix these. Then be doing our growth model value of stock, so that would be equal expected dividend divided by, parentheses, our required return, subtracted by our growth rate. That also looks correct. All right, now we will go to our table building, and we will call this table a sensitivity table. And we'll go through 10, as the problem says, 10% through 20%. And we will be using ROE, growth rate, earning model, and then constant. All right, so we'll be doing, let's get this set up. Okay, and then for our growth rate, we'll be using our retention ratio multiplied by our first ROE, which is 5.5%. And then I actually need to lock that part of the formula in. Oops. That's right. That way we can just apply this to the rest of this. Nice. And for our earning model, we will be using our expected EPS divided by our required return. Oh, and then we need to make this open parentheses. And this would be minus our original growth rate. And then we need to lock both of these in. Close our parentheses. And then that looks correct. We should put these in dollar format. And then for our constant growth, we will be using B13 or expected dividend divided by open B8 or required return minus also that growth rate. And then we need to lock this one in, lock this one in. That also looks correct. Oops. Apply this to rest. All right. That leaves us with our sensitivity table. And now I want to make a scatter chart based off this data. I will be full screen this now. So I will do insert recommended charts. Oops. So we'll be command. And then we can go to this. And then for this one, we can call this stock value versus ROE. Put my face a little bit here. All right. This here. And then I will also make a little answer summary. That will prioritize our main numbers for forever to look at this to find the main things we need to look at. And that's going to be the growth of the EPS, the value of the stock in that growth model form, or the sorry, earnings model form first. and the value of stock in the growth form. All right. So as previously, this would be 6.6%. This would be 53.57 and 24.11. And looking at this, we can see that after about 15% with the grow rate of 8, then we can see these numbers start to go into the negative format, which actually makes sense because in this certain formula, growth rate cannot be higher than the required return of the investor. At that point, the formula just breaks down, doesn't make sense. And so we can see up until that point, actually, through the scatter plot, goes up until that 15% and then it kind of breaks down. So what I'll do to show this is highlight these numbers in a gray to show that these are invalid. And then I'll also format this a little better. As well as give this a little more. Actually, gonna delete this one. Also give this a thick bottom border. Just make that look a little better. Right. I think that about concludes our financial modeling for this segment. And I hope you really enjoyed this presentation. And then, yeah, so just one more last recap. This is the stock value for the ROE. We based off this sensitivity table. And then our main things you want to be looking at is the growth rate of 6.6% for this company. And the value of stock with earnings model format being 53, and then value of stock and growth model being 24, made through the inputs up here. Thanks so much.